to the website. Got it. Okay, so I am going to start with just showing the website and showing how that works. So can everybody see? Yep. Okay. So Bank on Burque is under the legal department, and that's why you see that it comes under this banner here. So what we're going to do today is walk through several parts of the Bank on Burque project. So first we're going to see a little bit about Bank On. The second part will be talking about the banks and credit unions offering a certified account. It has the list of the banks, it has the name of the accounts, and it has a little bit of more information as well. Frequently asked questions. So there's an FAQ here. Hopefully we'll answer some of your questions. Events and training opportunities are also on here. So what we're offering right now are information sessions. If you want a little bit more detail, you'll be able to come here to sign up for a session that's about 45 minutes to an hour long. If you need a refresher on what I'm going to share with you today, because we've got about 30 minutes today. And I also do a PowerPoint with that one that goes a little bit more into depth about why people feel that they can't open checking accounts, talking about some equity issues, and talking a little bit more about the national movement. And the last part will be regarding the Bank on Burque Coalition, which is the next phase of this project. So the first phase was getting us started with Bank on Burque. As I said, I came on the end of November last year. The first part of our project involved getting financial institutions on board with providing a safe and affordable checking account. We'll talk a little bit about what those standards look like as we go forth. It's kind of woven in. So as we said, Bank on Burque is a City of Albuquerque economic inclusion initiative for connecting individuals and families to safe and affordable checking accounts available in the Albuquerque community. And already to answer your question, they're available in a lot of other places as well. You'll see that this is a national movement, and a lot of our national banks have these accounts throughout the state. Our Bank on Burque brochure, I don't know, Anne, were you able to send that out to folks?
I thought I would have you talk, and then I could send out those brochures to everybody.
Okay, perfect.
I didn't want to do it in advance because they might delete it or something. So I'll send it out. Yeah.
All right. So I'll talk a little bit about the brochure then. And so Anne will be forwarding that to you. And you can also now see on the website where to find that. So this is the brochure. The audience for our brochure are, of course, individuals who are looking for a checking account. What you will not see on here is the list of financial institutions, because we do anticipate that we will be welcoming a couple of other institutions in the next few months, and we did not want our hard copy brochure to become outdated really quickly. So this is just really good general information that will apply throughout the project, throughout this initiative. So what is Bank on Burque? We already talked about that a little bit, but ensuring that low cost, no overdraft, no surprise fee bank and credit accounts are an option for unbanked and underserved individuals. The bank on certified accounts are safe for consumers. We are asking everyone, make sure to look for the seal. So this seal will be on the accounts that meet the standards, that meet the national account standards. Bank on core features. It's a checking account. It is checklist for the most part. We may be having one in the future that has checks attached, but they are checklists. Debit card network, low monthly maintenance fees, $10 or less if waivable, $5 or less if not waivable. And sometimes they are still waivable at $5 or less. And you'll see that as we walk through the website. Again, no overdraft or non-sufficient funds fees. You're going to hear me say that a few times because we're really emphasizing that. Free direct deposit and free and unrestricted ATM access in-network, right? Make sure to keep that in mind. We did add on the brochure that we want to remind people that the website has language options. And so the majority, a lot of our information is up on the website. And so you can click on the Google Translate to get it translated into other languages. It's not perfect, but it's still better than nothing, right? So just a reminder that we do have that option on the website. On the inside of the brochure, remember it's a trifold. So if you print it out, print on the short edge and then fold it so it folds into 3. Some of the things that I think are really important to point out the benefits for folks and reminders is that you can save money. No more high fees to use check cashing services. So for example, if someone pays a 3% service charge to cash $1,000 check, they're losing $30, right? So again, this is one of the huge benefits of having a checking account at one of the financial institutions, keeping your money safe. Cash can be easily lost, so reducing the chances of losing your money by only withdrawing money as you need. So, you know, say you go to one of the cash services, right? You get a huge amount of cash that you're carrying in your pocket. Very easy to lose, not a safe option. So with this, then you can withdraw money as you need. No surprise fees. We already talked about that. Paying bills easily and quickly. Lots of folks now have phones, right? So you can do this on computer, tablet, or phone. So you can access to pay your bills, and you can also see account details on your phone. I know when I first started this project, I had never even used my credit union app, but now I have, so that I could learn more about how to use it. So you can make payments too, also for utilities, etc. We include a list of how to get started, right? Seeing a list of the checking accounts available to folks up on our website, calling, and I'm also stressing, call more than one to compare. Remember, you know there are options. There's ideas on questions to ask. And once people decide, make sure to schedule an appointment. We'll also stress, you know, if there's a different language needed, also asking for that. And then making sure that before you sign your account, make sure that you read and understand. And we always want to encourage that it's always okay to ask questions, right? It's always okay. Don't have a social security number for some of our citizens here and community members here in Albuquerque. Social security number may be an issue, right? So Bank on Burque has options. We'll talk a little bit more as we go through the website. But we want to stress that there are alternative ID options. The brochure is available in several languages. We have it in Spanish, we have it in Vietnamese, and also Chinese Mandarin is coming soon as well. So just see that we have a few options. Again, Bank on Burque, our first, the primary goal of our mission here is to connect individuals and families to safe and affordable checking accounts. The second part, which is the part that we're going into, and we're really excited to be joining with community, is to initiate and support a Bank on Burque coalition that's inclusive of financial institutions, community organizations, local government, and federal regulators. So we'll talk a little bit more about that at the very end. Some quick facts we like to share is that close to 5% of US households are unbanked without a checking or savings account, and almost 11% are underbanked, meaning they still use some fringe financial services or alternative financial services. Most, you know, payday lenders, money orders, pawn shops, all of those things, right? So those are the alternative other piece. So we still have folks that are using checking or savings account, but maybe aren't accessing the other services that they could. Nearly 34% of unbanked and 45% of underbanked households earn less than $30,000 per year. Nationally, 48% of Black households and 42% of Hispanic households are unbanked or underbanked, compared to less than 14% of white households. So this speaks, again, both of these last two bullet points to equity issues, right? And, you know, how do we work with that? We provide this graph that I think a picture says a lot, right? This is from Prosperity Now. In the orange, you will see Albuquerque, New Mexico. And here in the blue, you see USA. So numbers have gone down for unbanked nationally. However, here in New Mexico, we've stayed pretty consistent. And I think due to what's been happening this last year or so with the pandemic. Socioeconomics, when socioeconomic circumstances change, unbanked numbers go up. What we find, FDIC has found that when those circumstances happen, when jobs are lost, when there's just bad things happening in our economy, that a lot of folks will leave their banking institutions. So that's just a little bit really quick on Bank On. I'm going to go to the next part. This is the part everybody is like, I want to see this one, right? So we stress again, core features of a Bank On certified account include safe and secure, affordable, and functional. Again, the seal, look for the seal when opening a Bank On certified checking account. If you're interested in seeing the full list of core features, it's available here on the website. So this is the list that our financial institutions look at and have to comply with for providing a safe and affordable account. Here is a list of all the core features, if you would like to see those in more detail. And the strongly recommended features. These are not have-tos, but they are strongly recommended. And you'll see alternative IDs and account screening being these things in this part of the standards. So again, if you're interested in seeing a little bit more detail, it's available up on the website. Our banks and credit unions. We have Bank of America. We have Chase. Chase is brand new to Albuquerque. They opened their first branch just a few weeks ago over on Eubank and anticipate having 5 branches by the end of December. We have Discover, First National Bank, Texas. We know them as First Convenience Bank here in Albuquerque. See them at a lot of the Walmarts. We have Nucinda Credit Union, Rio Grande Credit Union, US Bank, US Eagle Federal Credit Union, and Wells Fargo. So what's really important to remember here is that it's one specific account at these institutions to look at. They need to have this seal. For instance, and this will link straight to those accounts. As you can see, Rio Grande Credit Union has their seal right there, up front and center. So really emphasizing, because as you know, banks and credit unions have a variety, right? They have a menu of accounts. It's one specific account that we need to look for that meets these requirements. And they are all on here. They're all linked. Access is important also in looking for accounts. So physical access might be a factor for individuals. So here's a map that has all of the branches for the credit unions and banks that we just saw in the list so that individuals can see. Maybe they're looking for something, place that's close to them. It might be that they're looking for something on the bus line. So this is a nice feature for helping point folks to looking at, what might be important for them. Because sometimes it is about asking the right questions, right? So I think having these kind of information really quick for folks to see will help them determine. So one of the points of determining that is physical access, right? So we have this on here. Oops, got a little big there. So now we're going to go to a list of the core features of additional features from all of these. So this is here on account features, but you can also link to it from here. Whoops, wrong one. Wrong link. You guys already saw this one. It's this one down here. It's the chart. And I know you will see this several times, but I think it's important for folks to be able to see this in a variety of different places, right, as they're looking. So here's a reminder too of the features of the Bank On certified checking accounts. So all of the accounts below have all of these items, right? The no overdraft, the free online bill pay, point out there is free in network ATM access. Make sure to see your financial institution websites for the exact ATM locations. Some of them have a bazillion ATMs, some of them have a few, but it might be location that matters more than anything. So again, it depends on need. We do updates, so always check for seeing when the last update is. All the information below has been provided by the financial institutions. So here is the account features. Again, people can hyperlink over to the account. People can see what is the monthly fee. Some of them can be waived. This one here is $5, but under 21, there's no fee. So that might be an added bonus for someone. $5 versus $3 might be a difference for someone. Minimum opening deposit. Most of them are 25, but we do have one that's 0. Free mobile deposit. Minimum age could be a factor for some. I know some of our community organizations that we work with, this will be a big one for them. Other membership requirements, and only deny for past incidences of actual fraud. So that one is going to be a little bit more in-depth, and we encourage people to call the financial institutions, but it does give you kind of an idea. For some, it depends. Contact the institution for more details. I'll go back to the FAQ to answer some more questions about, or to, that will refer to this particular piece. Another point of access is language access, right? ATM languages. This was kind of interesting as we started gathering information to share. We have some that have English, Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Russian, and Portuguese. Many of them English and Spanish. What are their website languages? Branch location languages at their locations. We do put in here call and confirm for branch locations. And out-of-network ATM fees. This could be a factor also. If you pick an institution that maybe doesn't have a lot of networks and they're going to be going to a lot of out-of-network ATMs, what's that fee going to look like? So, alternative identification accepted. This list kept getting longer the more I spoke with community organizations, because it is important, right? Distilling the myths of who can become banked. I think this is what inspired creating this particular chart. So ITANs, who accepts ITANs and who doesn't? The consular identification cards, Mexico on all of them that are listed here, but we also have the Dominican Republic, Colombia, Guatemala, Argentina. EADs, employment authorization documents. Tribal IDs and school IDs. Some of them will accept as a secondary and some will accept as a primary. It's good to know. And the financial institutions listed here also provided other alternative IDs that were accepted. So it's nice to see the list, right? Because this could be, again, another factor for folks that are looking for a bank. So we really kind of wanted to create this to be helpful for those that are teaching financial literacy out in the community, so that they can walk clients through this and help them with seeing that they can, and seeing maybe about where they should do some comparison shopping. You know, a couple of accounts. Oh, both of these take, you know, the matrica consular, you know, and they'll take this other one. You know, it's just good to know this part. Frequently asked questions. I think this list will get longer, and we'll be adding more questions as we start talking more in community for sure. A good question is, do I have to be an Albuquerque resident to open an account? No, you don't have to be. Are only banks and credit unions in Albuquerque offering these accounts? No. Some banks and credit unions have participating branches throughout the region and even nationally. So the one thing, like the bigger national banks, they, you know, like Bank of America, it's at every Bank of America, but you got to know which account to ask for, right? And so with what we're doing in Bank on Burque is that we're making sure that we're going to communicate that here. But there will be, you know, they are everywhere else. It's just a matter of knowing specifically which account. How do I choose the account best for me? Where should I go to open account? What kind of identification? All these link back to those charts. Do I need a social security number? Can I open an account if I've had trouble with an account in the past? So yes, but in some cases you may have to prove that you've attended financial education classes, repaid debts. Banks and credit unions have different policies. And so that was why we couldn't capture it all here. But it's worthwhile to explore. Some banks and credit unions do not check your record and will open an account as long as you don't owe them money. View the account details, contact the financial institution with any questions regarding screening or checking of records. Remember, it is always okay to ask questions. And I anticipate that we will be learning, Bank on Burque will be learning more as we go out into community about the barriers and challenges that are being experienced. Events and training opportunities. I do want to point this out. If you would like to attend a session that goes a little bit more into depth, you are welcome to register for training. I do want to point this out. If you would like to. Okay. And then our Bank on Burque coalition. I like to show the map. Because this is big. It's a national movement, right? There's over 80 plus coalitions. They've got 85, I think, up on the map now. This is work that's being done nationally. So you can see there are coalitions all across the nation doing this work. I think at most recent count, there's also over 100, I think 100 certified accounts now nationally as well. If you're interested in seeing any of the coalition work across the nation, everyone is here, including Bank on Burque. So coalitions, we are hoping to start our coalition this fall, 2021. We are hoping to invite partners to come participate, to have these multi-sector conversations. I think it's great for financial institutions to hear from, our community partners. We anticipate maybe starting some work groups that are very focused on particular populations in our community. So we'll see what that looks like. We are really hoping to operate out of the strengths of the folks that show up for the coalition. So are there any questions? And I'll leave the screen up in case I need to go back to anything on the website.
You explained it pretty well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette.
I have a question. If somebody has an account somewhere else, would they be able to now go and change that account or open another account using the Bank on Burque? Because it's so much better. I mean, the lower fees and everything else. So.
Yeah, I don't see why not. It would be a matter, people have different, can have a variety of accounts, right? And
Yeah.
so they may not need to close that one, but maybe open the other one, right? And use that as a primary, maybe using the other savings. But it depends too, because if they have a regular account at another place, they may have dormancy fees, where if they haven't taken any action, they have fees, right? Whereas this one does not. So, I mean, people can do what they want to do and what they need to do that works best for them. And I would even say if they're already at one of these institutions, they can move into this other account. So.
Okay, what other questions do people have about this? Looks like a fabulous thing. We've had bankers speak at Wings for Life and they charge up to 830% when you go to those payday loan places. And it's just criminal. And so this sounds like a way that we're getting away from people being forced to do banking like that.
No, for sure. And that's part of my presentation is I go through the fees. That 175% cap is not really a cap. I know it's under 300 what it was before, but 175% on payday loans is just crazy. And what people are paying for title loans, etc., for sure. one of the things on the PowerPoint, it's estimated that folks who are unbanked spend probably over close to $40,000 over a lifetime on alternative financial fees.
Wow.
I have a question.
Yes.
I can get my camera on here. Sorry about that.
Hi, Jay.
Hey, how are you? Hey, I really like the website. I like how it shows a lot of aggregate information there. I'm kind of surprised it doesn't have Native American language in some of these ATMs. That kind of surprised me a little bit. I don't know why it doesn't do that when they're about 10% of the population. I think that's something that maybe we could go back and take a look at. The other thing is, you talked about financial literacy, which I believe is lacking in the schools. And the reason I bring that up is I see some of these ages here where you can be 16 years old and going through this, opening up an account and stuff like that. And a lot of kids may not be aware, and I'm sure they're not, the vast majority of them aren't aware of, what banks actually do, how they can help you, what the fees are before they, sign on the dotted line. And I'd just like you to touch on that for a minute, please.
No, I agree. So previous to this, Jay, I used to be in that high school arena, and I was always advocating for having classes that teach this kind of information. Unfortunately, it's never gotten anywhere. I mean, there are the classes, but they're not the mandatory classes, right? They're always the optional classes that they can take. So for credits. I do, and I'm hearing this from the financial institutions too. How do we make sure that this is linked to some kind of class, right? So with youth, we are working with, especially foster youth. So there are classes out there. And so one of the other pages that we're going to be adding as we develop the coalition will have financial literacy classes and locations, right? Will they be at the financial institutions? Can they be community partners? One of our primary partners is West. We're already talking about how do we do a financial class that is Bank On and West together that we put up on the website. But I think there's other organizations that would be happy to list all of their classes on there as well.
Yeah, one of the things that that I've seen up here in Rio Rancho, I had two of my kids graduate from Rio Rancho High School here, is the financial literacy is not a core component of the education, which it should be, especially with some of the financial issues that the state is facing. But, it'd be great if, I'll call you an expert, Delma, because you're more of an expert on this than I am. But you would be, a great, a visiting professor or instructor to go around and even do Zoom calls to make it easier with some of these classes. Because I really think these kids need at least a basic understanding, and at least they can, when they go into a bank later on after they graduate or when they're in school, they can say, yeah, you know what, I kind of remember them talking about that. It just gives them a little bit of a better education, prepares them better. That's just my thought.
Yeah, and I think contributing to that, one of the other pieces that I share in the PowerPoint is that over 50% of the people who are unbanked used to have a banking account, but got burned, right? And so how many of us had teenagers, I mean, I did, who didn't understand the service fees, right? And then they had, all these overdraft fees and everything, and they got red flagged. And they got like discouraged from having a banking account, right? So you can imagine how many folks that has happened to, right? So I think one of the credit unions, president CEO, he's like, I don't know why we didn't think of doing something like this, where it just automatic, it denies you, if there's not money in the account, you don't get to make that purchase, right? And so, and that's the way it should be, right? For many of us, right? I mean, for me, it'd be helpful too. It would have helped me with, I'm a mother of 5. It would have helped with all my kids to have had that for sure. They're all adults and they've all managed to figure it out, but there were some painful lessons in there. And I think for some people, it's been so painful that they have not been able to return. So we're hoping that this will help people return and feel more comfortable with and feeling that they are competent, right? I was reading, someone was telling me the other day that people all need to have intimacy and competency to feel good about themselves. And so this is part of that competency piece, right? Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Delma. And I will have you speak at Wings, and we'll gear it for the prison audience. The corrections department is now having inmates joining us. on our Monday night program. So I'd like to have just a generic, very simple talk for about 30 minutes about this program. And it does sound like, I mean, Wells Fargo, my gosh, they're all over the state. So a lot of these banks are all over the state. So people would be able to get one of these accounts. And so, yeah, I'm thrilled to hear about it. As soon as I heard about it, I said, we've got to share this with everybody.
Yes,
Because
we definitely will.
especially, yeah, our returning citizens, they need to bank, they need to have a place to start to build their credit, they need a safe place to put their money, record keeping and all those things. And so this is really wonderful. Well, thank you. And I've got to honor our commitment to time here. If there are questions at the end, we can go back. If anybody has any questions, you can put them in the chat room for Delma. But we're going to move on and we're going to hear from Baron. So Baron Jones is here from the ACLU. So Baron, I'd like to welcome you. And I think you were going to have some others join you as well. So welcome and share what's going on with the ACLU and things you're working on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Anna. So happy to be here again. It's so happy to be here. And I thought that it would be wise to make sure that I connected my two newest colleagues with the Returning Citizens Collaborative, because of all the work you all do. And as you know, here at the ACLU, one of our goals over the last few years have been to work with impacted communities. And we're talking about folks who are surviving incarceration and crime, folks who are navigating the criminal legal system in various aspects. And so real briefly, I started doing this work after being a reporter for a few years, and I've seen that my work as a journalist wasn't doing enough to sort of change the systems that create challenges for folks, right? And so I decided to get into the policy side of things. I'm joined here today by my colleagues Elaine Maestas and Maggie Ceriano, and I'll let them just say briefly introduce themselves. Go ahead, Elaine, because you're right below me on the screen.
Hi, everybody. So as Baron mentioned, my name's Elaine Maestas, and I am a police accountability strategist with the ACLU of New Mexico. I just started in this position in February, but have been volunteering with the ACLU for about the last 18 months or so. I was brought to this work by a very personal, real experience. My sister was, her life was taken while she was in the middle of a mental health crisis by 3 Bernalillo County deputies. And really since that tragedy and following my sister's death, I have set out to really kind of change the way policing is done in New Mexico to prevent other families from experiencing the loss and heartache that I've experienced. Yeah, so that's what brings me to this work.
And go ahead, Maggie.
Hey everyone, my name is Maggie Ceriano. I'm an organizer with the ACLU. What brought me to this work was I was born and raised in Roswell, New Mexico. So just seeing all the systems upheld and what can we do to change them. So I'm in the fight along with Baron and Elaine.
Thank you. And so, we've been busy and just like with most folks on the call, right? The pandemic created some huge challenges for our advocacy work and trying to change these systems, right? This year, the campaign for smart justice, right, which we primarily, focus on, sort of tries to view the criminal legal system through a racial justice lens, right? And over this past year, we've worked with our partners at the New Mexico Safe Coalition to work on, reforming probation and parole, right? Because we know the largest driver of incarceration in the state of New Mexico are technical violations, right? And so during the pandemic, at the start of the pandemic, we wrote letters to New Mexico Corrections Department and all the county jails throughout the state in hopes of sort of getting our institutions to sort of evaluate who's in their custody, their level of dangerousness, and let people out so it wouldn't have the spread of COVID in there. I think and the Department of Corrections, especially in Otero, several months, I think in December, several months after the pandemic surfaced, we saw major outbreaks and loss of life in our corrections department. So the goal would be now is to use the lessons learned. Use the lessons we learned to really bring about some change on the probation and parole front, right? And maybe just sort of get rid of technical violations or create a step programs that give the parole and probation department officials tools to sort of treat this stuff and without sending people back to jail. A legislative finance committee report, a 2018 report, and of course it'll be different this year, showed that approximately a third of the corrections department admissions on any given day were for folks for parole violations, right? We're not talking about probation, but we're talking about parole violations, and we would like to see them lock up less people and invest those monies in communities, investment programs like the RCC and Wings for Life that give folks resources and tools to navigate that transition from incarceration to productive citizen, right? And that's the number one goal. We also worked on a bill that and a lot of this stuff is going to be coming back. We hope that it's going to be reintroduced in the next upcoming legislative session. But this bill would have ended mandatory life for people. Would have gave juvenile offenders an option to be paroled after 15 years. I think science has proven, and all the research has proven that young folks, their brains don't develop right, and that brain science is sort of key to changing that. We also, and so that's a huge bill, and we believe that we're going to be able to get that through. That bill, it was voted on supported unanimously. I can't even say the word unanimously in both chambers during the legislative session. So it was really disheartening to see that bill not get to the governor's desk. And then we worked on a bill that Maggie is going to talk a little bit more about her work, because what we see, you all, and I think Ann knows this better than anyone, right? What we see is that there's a lot of focus on police accountability, right? There's a lot of focus on en masse incarceration, right? Especially the last few years as folks have become a bit more woke to what goes on in our criminal legal system. But one area of concern that creates huge hardship for New Mexican families, right, and especially for people exiting prisons, is our system of criminal legal system fines and fees, right? We don't talk much about that. So Maggie will touch on that later. But now I'll turn it over to Elaine for a moment. No, actually, yeah. Because I think Maggie should go first, because it's following up on Miss and if I pronounce your name wrong, please don't throw anything at me. But Miss Delma Madrigal's presentation, did I do okay on the pronouncing the enunciation of your name? Pronounce your name right. Cool. So Maggie, won't you tell them a little bit about the work you've been doing, where those bills at, and why they're important?
Yeah, thanks, Baron. So like you said, the issue that's often overlooked is municipalities, muni courts, metro courts using fines and fees for minor infractions to prey upon our lower income people to raise and generate revenue for the courts. So this kind of was shown into light with the Brennan or the Ferguson report back in 2015 after the killing of Michael Brown. And this shed a huge light on the inequalities, injustices of fines and fees, which led into the report of the Brennan Center, which actually focused on 3 jurisdictions here in New Mexico, which was Santa Fe, Bernalillo, and Socorro County. And this really emphasized just that it's a really inefficient way to generate revenue, and also just to stop relying on the public to raise funds for the government. So we really used the Brennan Center report to gear up for this last regular session, which is Senate Bill 7, the driver's license suspension reform, which is working to end license suspensions for missed court hearings, overdue fines and fees payments, and also it would waive the $27 reinstatement fee that is added on when you, from the MVD. What this bill does not do, though, it's not related to overdue child support, and then also DUIs, revoked licenses, reckless driving. And from the floor session, it was getting really good movement. It was just stalled, but we're coming back, and we are also working with the Fines and Fees Justice Center to get the momentum building up.
And if I can say one thing about the driver's license, Bill, and then once again, and you've been doing this work for quite a bit of time, and I'm sure you've seen that cycle and how it plays out, right? An individual, they fail to miss court or something, and then they have their driver's license taken away. And then, but what does that do, right? It creates a system where you can't help feed your family. And one thing I think Ann has talked about for years is that when we incarcerate individuals and take their driver's licenses away, we're doing it to the entire family. So we may think of it as a solitary individual, we're going to take Maggie's license away, but when it comes down, that whole family suffers, and it creates mechanisms where folks don't have the resources they need to provide for their families, and it just creates this horrible cycle. Maggie, why don't you talk about some of the other stuff that we had cooking this year?
Oh yeah, just to circle back to that, if y'all didn't know, if you are pulled over on a suspended license, you risk 90 days in jail and then also another $300 fine. So again, it's 90 days in jail. Your job, I don't think Barron would keep me around. My job, I would lose my job right away. And then also in the long term, we're looking to assess one's ability to pay when dealing with the fine and completely abolish fees in this related to courts. So like facilities docket fees, jury and witness fees, and then hopefully even probation and parole would be a really good goal. Just stop adding on the fees. And I'm not sure what else I skipped, Darren.
No, you're good, because we'll circle back, and some folks that have conversation questions for you, but also in the future, we're looking to one day, remove traffic from being a criminal offense to maybe because what we see with that is that once again, no one likes reckless and horrible drivers, right? And we're not condoning that, but we would like to see folks not face criminal penalties for driving infractions, I think. And so we'll be working on that in the future, the fines and fees. And Maggie, and we also were very successful. Maggie and the Fines and Fees Justice Center was super successful in abolishing fees for juvenile folks, right? Young folks in our criminal legal system. Because like I said, these things, they may seem simple, but they create huge impediments to progress, especially folks who are living on the margins. And then Elaine, Maggie and Elaine and I also worked on a couple of bills this past session that will sort of bring about a bit more government accountability with the New Mexico Civil Rights Act, right? And what that bill does, a lot of folks looked at it as or it was billed and advertised as a police bill, but it really wasn't. It's just a government accountability bill. Our state constitution, we have a section 2 of our state constitution, our Bill of Rights is stronger than on the federal level, right? We have a great Bill of Rights. Even our Second Amendment, our analog to the Second Amendment is much stronger than the federal Second Amendment. So we have great laws in the state, but we can't. But if you feel those laws up until July 1st, if you felt those laws were violated, you weren't able to seek any redress. And also, but I better be quiet and let Elaine talk about some of the other work we're doing and where we're going with that.
Yeah, so if my internet starts to mess up, just let me know so I can turn my camera off. Getting into some of the work that we are doing around police accountability, the heart of this work really all revolves around preventing needless deaths from continuing to happen, while at the same time giving law enforcement a roadmap to success. So from 2013 to current date, we've had 175 New Mexicans killed by police, and we are currently leading in the nation for police-involved shooting and deaths for the last few years, number 1 or 2. So this is become a real issue that is really at home for us and my family personally. When we look at policing and how it's done in our state and in our country, hold on, my internet's kind of, am I frozen?
No, no.
Sorry. Um, so when we look at policing and how it's done in our country and state, we have many things that really contribute to these senseless deaths. We have areas that are broken, ineffective, outdated, and just missing from the equation when it comes to policing. It is vital that we not only, so it's vital to our community, but not just to our community, that we make these necessary changes, but to the officers as well. Getting these necessary changes passed.
I think we may have lost Elaine. But I think so. I think because what it is that you know, I think we've been we've discussed it in numerous circles, is that sometimes we set our law enforcement community up for failure when we are demanding that they you know, answer to calls that they're not necessarily equipped for, right? And I think so what we would like to see is that that so some of those less serious offenses be maybe, you know, moved away to a different department like the Albuquerque Community Safety Department, right? I think that will do a lot to sort of give our law enforcement community options to deal with policing in a way that that sort of keeps them sane, right? Because, you know, I was just talking to a retired officer this morning, John Ross, who was a law enforcement officer for upwards of 30 years in the Houston area, and one thing him and I sort of came to an agreement on is when these horrible incidents happen that result in loss of life, this is not something done willingness. I don't think anyone thinks that an officer shows up to a scene and decide they want to shoot someone. So I mean, it goes back into making sure that the departments have the tools and the training they need, right? And so and also to lessen their load somewhat, lessen their load and keep them sane and invest and reduce the resources in a way that promotes programs, so we can, you know, so we can promote programs that sort of heal the communities, like as I mentioned, like the work Wings does, right? And so this year, in addition to that, we want to see, you know, I'm sure you all may have seen the stories of where there's like huge backlogs of misconduct investigations and officers who have, you know, taken lives 3 and 4 times and throughout their, you know, very short career. So we want to sort of make sure that we can track that a little bit better, and then emphasize training, right? Emphasize a statewide system of statewide training. So if we were able to implement a statewide use of force policy, that would go with a statewide curriculum. So all the law enforcement agencies, is over 100 in New Mexico, will be operating from the same playbook. I'm not sure if you all seen the KLB report last night, but KLB, the state police, acknowledged that there was a significant increase in shootings just this year so far, compared to, so everything's going up, right? Everything's going up. We're seeing an increase in homicides, right? And I believe that could be directly, and no, I don't believe it. I've had people in the governor's office mention what was the precursor to all this violence. I've had and the city of Albuquerque has done you know, town halls to discuss how the increase in methamphetamine use is sort of creating these violent situations. So what we're asking the city to do, and the Albuquerque city administration, would they be willing to invest and maybe give bonuses to behavioral health and substance abuse disorder treatment folks to relocate to Albuquerque and start providing these services, right? Because everyone on the call here, I'm sure Mr. Shapiro know, and everyone else on the call know that in 2012 or something, when we had the 2013, I forget the year, but we had the big old behavioral health shakeup in the state, right? Where there was accusations of fraud and things like that. So they ended all those contracts, and we've never ever replaced those services, right? And in the state of New Mexico and the state, right? And so that's one of the reasons why we're seeing some of the increase in violent crime. So I think, we have to encourage our city and state officials to invest more money and to provide these services, and also come up with, I mean, there's also solutions that include our law enforcement community, like maybe wellness programs for the officers, right? I mean, and making sure they have expanded access to mental health treatment for when they do experience something that could be adverse. Because I know, I mean, life is sacred, and I can only imagine what it would feel like for a person to have to take one, right? I mean, so I think that we need to protect them all the while we're working to improve our communities. But going back to working with the incarcerated population. This year we wanted to, and this is one that you probably would appreciate. We worked to attempt to try to get a independent oversight of the corrections department. We wanted to get an ombudsman, right, who has go key access in the Department of Corrections, because we know back in 2019. We passed the ACLU worked with our partners, the New Mexico Safe Coalition partners, and a few of the civil rights attorneys and not only in AFSCME, the association, I get confused, so I better not try it. But we work with them to pass the Solitary Confinement Act, right, which restricted which prohibits solitary confinement for minors under 18, pregnant individuals, and it's severe. I mean, strictly or restricts the use for folks living with mental health illnesses, right? But what we've seen during COVID is that it became the de facto mechanisms for dealing with the pandemic, right? So, and there's been, a few instances where, folks have taken their lives in solitary confinement, because we know that sometimes they exacerbate problems that exacerbate and or create new problems for folks who may be living with mental health illnesses. So those are some of the things that we really want to get past this year, just so we can sort of look after that incarcerated population. Because one thing I think everyone on this call knows, that 98% of folks who are incarcerated end up coming back, right? They're released one day, right? And our goal should be, as a society, is to make sure that they are better off than they went in. And that's just the bottom line, right? Full disclosure, right? And I think, and a lot of people on the call know this. I was one of those folks who were doing a life sentence on installment plans, right? In and out of the Department of Corrections. I'm talking about, I'm going through the process of sponging my records, but I was really I was so addicted, right, to that it was just a revolving door for me, right? So when I was talking to someone about my expunging my records, it's going to cost me so much money because I was getting arrested so much, right? I mean, and I just tell these stories about how because when you're suffering, especially when you're addicted to opioids and heroin, right? Some days you wake up with a little bit of clarity, right? And you say, oh, I want to change, right? There's a small window, you wake up with that small window where you want change, right? And a lot of those instances were met with lack of resources, right? So I'll want to change. I'll call around. I'll call the New Mexico Department of Health, right? I would call at the time, I can't think of the name, but it was over in the South Valley, Turquoise Lodge. I would call Turquoise Lodge and a few other spots to try to get help. And they'd be like, oh, Baron, we don't have anything. It's 8 months, it's an 8 month wait, right? And we knows what happened in 8 months, folks OD and die. So really it's about creating that urgency amongst our government officials, right, to see that these are problems that we should sort of try to, you know, cut off before one finds themselves in prison or in jail, right? Because then we know from experience, because I was one of those people that, you know, Baron, you know, when you get out of prison, we want you to go do X, Y, and Z. And now I have my mouth stuck out and I'm really resistant because, you know what I mean? It's like I'm being forced to do it. It's coerced treatment, right? So we want to start working. And like I said, I'm going to make sure that we are, you know, attending these meetings, because I think it's important to be able to connect and learn from the folks who are serving these communities, right? You know, that's one thing. We're a little bit out of touch, especially since the pandemic. We had our Justice Advisory Board and our impacted volunteers, right? But we're sort of out of touch, and we need to connect with folks who can educate us on where we need to spend our efforts, right? So I'll be bugging you all. We're gonna all drop our information inside the chat, so you can reach out and have any questions. If a gentleman called me yesterday. He got out of he was incarcerated, and he got out, and he's having a hard time finding housing, right? I was able to connect him with the folks at Best Chance. I'm hoping that they can help, but it's things like that we need you all's help with, right? Because you all are, like I said, in the community, you're doing the work, and we need to sort of partner and make sure that we can, you know, give people the best foot forward. And I think working with the Returning Citizens Collaborative is a good start. But what about any questions, folks? And I'm sorry I talk so much.
Okay, who has questions for Baron? Any questions? Well, if you've got anything that you want to, Ambrosia has something. Ambrosia?
Yeah, hi, Baron.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, smiling.
You touching my heart with all of this, and I just wanted to know if you had any idea about our program, Project Echo, working with returning citizens. We receive referrals from the New Mexico Probation and Parole Department to help them find resources so that they can successfully stay out and reduce that recidivism rate. And I'm just wondering, with your program, if this is something that you would be considered in helping with us.
Yeah, for sure. You know, me and Project Echo go back. I was one of the first folks in that program, and Western, because check this out, and it's a little story. Sorry for the long-winded, but I was incarcerated. It was like 2007. And one day they just called my name and picked me up and shipped me to grants. Like, that's what they do. They ship you around the state, right? Put you in a paper suit, ship you off. And I got to grants, and the conditions and the treatment was so punitive, right? I mean, you walk to child folks yelling at you and stuff. And I'm like, I need to get out of here, right? So I signed up for the hepatitis C treatment program through Project Echo, and it was able to get me transferred out of Western and back to Los Lunas, closer to my family. And in the past, I've worked with Daniel Rowan. So let's please connect. I dropped my information in that chat. So let's please connect, because I think it's super, super important. And I think the work you all do is great. And we need more Project Echoes. And I really dig the way, and I would love to talk to you all about some of your outside of institution work. I know you all are working with the folks downtown to help address the unhoused, unsheltered community and some of the issues that they're up against. So please, Ambrosia, please contact me, because we need to connect. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Boy, two different directions here today, but both very, very helpful. And Baron, I especially like that you're working on those fees, because I know those fees can just cripple somebody and they can't pay. I mean, a $50 fee can just be monumental to somebody that doesn't have a nickel in their pocket. So So that's very important. What we'll do now is we'll just go around and everybody can share some of the things that are going on. I got an interesting call today. I'll send it out to everybody. It was from Kelly Repke, and she's the CEO of the Associated General Contractors. And we're bringing a speaker in, a nationally known speaker about mental health. She wants to know if anybody would help. It's cost over $3,000 to bring this woman here. We don't have $3,000 to bring her here. I wish we did, but maybe somebody else will. So I'll send that out. They're trying to bring her here for the end of August, real close to Labor Day. Then also, I'll just share, we are finally, yay, gonna have a real back to school party for the kids. It will be August the 7th. I've started to send out notices about that. It's from 1 to 4. We're collecting school supplies. We'll give anything that we have away to anybody. And we're gonna have a real party, real in person, no drive-bys, no masks on and lining up 6 feet apart like we've had to do. We're absolutely thrilled about that. Then we've also started our contracts with CYFD. We're doing something in all the juvenile facilities on a weekly basis. And now we've started our Wings LifeWise family workshops, not Streetwise. We're going to be LifeWise, teaching them LifeWise things. And down the road, there might be an opportunity for you to be able to do something for us. And certainly we'll tape whatever talk that you do for us about that Bank on Burque program, because we've got to get people into healthy banking situations. And so I'm just really thrilled to hear about that. So the LifeWise family workshops, we've got 6 8-week sessions, and I'm very excited that the corrections departments are going to start. The corrections department is going to have the different facilities joining us in the next series and then continuing on. So for anybody that will be releasing within the next 6 months, they will be part of these Wings LifeWise family workshops. It'll teach them about, well, the 40 developmental assets that we always teach, ways to strengthen families, self-care tips during and after COVID, understanding healthy parent-child relationships, because anybody that loses their children to foster care or has addicted babies, fetal alcohol syndrome, any of that, they go into CYFD care, and we're trying to help with that. Then public benefits, we've got the top leaders talking about SNAP and TANF and WIC and all those things. And housing, we've got the top leader for Presbyterian, Western Sky, and Blue Cross. They're housing experts, do that workshop. And then we've got the community support workers, community health workers, and then ways to get a job, and then Wise with Money. So those are 8-week series that continue throughout the year. So if you have any of your folks, they can join at any time. I continue to send out those flyers. So please know that we'd like people to be joining us for those talks. Now, who else has something else that they want to share that's going on with their nonprofit, their for-profit? Okay, Jeanette, I saw your hand up. Go ahead.
Okay, I work for Crossroads for Women. We're at 239 Elm Street, so downtown between Central and Lomas and I-25. I just wanted to let you know we still have beds available for our inpatient treatment programs. To qualify, they just need to have a co-occurring disorder, which means struggling with substances once in their life and a mental health diagnosis, and have at least 6 months of probation or parole, either state or federal, to qualify. We do also have a special event August 4th here. We have partnered with some young artists, and they've done huge 10-foot murals. And so we're gonna have, I think, the news station and those young artists and everything come down. So if you guys would like to see some amazing little ones like that did big, miraculous, awesome things, you can come down and check it out. We'll also be doing our back to school event for our clients and doing free haircuts. We also are going to start a drop-in program next week. It'll be Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, to help anybody with rental assistance and eviction assistance. So we have funding so that we can help people stay housed and maintain their housing. And then we're still taking, there's a wait list, but we can still help put people on the wait list for our voucher program. So that is where they have a voucher that pays for their own home or apartment in Albuquerque. And then they come to us for groups and services and case management. So we can definitely help them out there. So if anyone is needing some housing or rental assistance or eviction assistance, please send them our way.
You said that was 9 to 4, Monday to Friday?
Yes, 9 to 4, Monday through Friday.
Okay, and they don't have to be women. They can,
No.
and anybody at any time.
Yes, and for the drop-in program, we are offering transportation from the RRC, that little drop-off center, you know, from MDC where they drop them
Yeah.
off, transport from there to here, or from the PO downtown office. We'll transport them from their PO office up here if they need rental assistance and eviction. And then we'll give them a bus pass so they can find their way to the shelters or their home, you know, back to where they need to go.
Should they try to call to make sure that somebody is there? I've got somebody right now that has been contacting me about needing housing. So, or just drop in.
They can drop in. We are actually getting trained on this new program on Wednesday. So if you could tell them to drop in maybe Friday, you know, once we get this, like, you know, we'd like to know exactly what we're supposed to do and offer, you know? So if they want to drop in Friday, we have about 4 or 5 people, actually 5 people that I'm going to train on this. So there's like a backup to the backup to the backup, you know, just in case it's popping.
Yeah.
You know? So we want to make sure everything's covered, but yes. And even if they've been like an MDC a couple times or been in inpatient behavioral health hospitals, they may qualify for us or UNMH. So even if they are male, please let them know, you know, there may be a wait list that they qualify for some programs. So if anybody's needing that, I think I'll put my work cell phone number in the chat box with also our office number if you need to get a hold of anyone for more.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Yeah, because then other people can get it too. That's very helpful. So thank you. Okay, Ambrosia?
Yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit today. We just received our end of the year graphing we started our program for CPEP for Community Peer Education Project in October of last year. So it wasn't technically even a year because it should have started in July. But through that about 9 months, we served 637, and out of those we successfully completed 397, and we ended up with 64 still active going into the new year. So I mean, it was a very, very big success this year. And so if any of you guys have anybody that you know that's on supervision that is in need of services for any kind of resources or even just peer support, please let them know that all they have to do is put in a request to their probation or parole officer, and they can get involved with our program as well. So,
That's great to know. Good work. That's
questions.
fabulous. Yeah, that's really, really good. Anybody else?
I have one thing. You know, one of the things I failed to mention is that the New Mexico legislature passed gave an allocation to the New Mexico Sentencing Commission to update the state's criminal code. This is huge work. It's a Herculean effort that could really sort of shape our system here in New Mexico. I know in the past we've worked to convince the legislature to treat substance use as a public health crisis, and therefore maybe, you know, defelonize that and use the money saved to invest in programming. And so they are, and I'll try to drop it in here. They have a survey going around, and they would love to hear from the general public, especially folks who work and who work with folks who have been impacted by our criminal legal system. The survey, some of it sort of can get in the weeds, but I think that for the lay people, don't let that bug you. Don't let that bug you, and we can leave all that expertise talk and just sort of fill it out the way you all want to see it in your plain language. Don't worry about their legalese, and I think it could help inform that process. I think here we have here there's things like habitual offender proceedings that I know one and actually I met her through Crossroads, right? I work with Crossroads a lot, but one individual, her son was 23 years old and got a 67-year sentence, and the majority of those were habitual offender enhancements, right? And so just removing things like that, and so that's a good thing. I'll send that survey around to everyone if you have time to fill it out, because they need to hear from lay people, not just the lawyers, the police, and the courts. So
Thanks, Baron.
Mhm.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, well, we'll finish up just a little bit early then. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll meet again next month. Next month, actually, we've got Cisco McSorley, who heads up the parole board. So Cisco will be talking, and I'm not sure. I've got to see if he wants the full hour or not. I don't have a second speaker lined up yet for that one. But I just appreciate Delma learning about your wonderful program. That is really fantastic. And Baron, all the work that you're continuing to do. So, and everybody else. So let's keep just working with these returning citizens. Let's have a return and stay home. Nobody going back. And let's help the children and the families so they don't even get there in the first place. So working together, we can all make that happen. And so I appreciate all of you, and have a wonderful day and week, and join us at Wings for Life every Monday night, whenever you can, by Zoom. So thanks so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
One day I gotta get